Hello and welcome to another episode of Here to Record Show and Tell. In this episode, we're going to talk about some top tips that we have for live streaming a conference or a meetup or an event. These are a few things we've learned along the way and we thought we'd share that information with you and hopefully you find them useful. Tip number 1, ask all the technical questions before the event. It's a really good idea to reach out to your contact at the event and ask a few technical questions, things like the audio, the video, that kind of stuff. But in terms of live streaming specifically, you'll of course want to know what the upload and download speed is of the internet at the venue. So a good thing to do is to make it very clear that you want to know both the upload and the download. That way, if the person themselves is not necessarily technical, they'll give you all the information, and then you can look at the most important number, the upload speed. The next question to ask them is if you can take advantage of that full upload speed, if it's a dedicated area for you, or if that's going to be shared with you and the participants in the venue, the audience in the venue. And that upload speed starts to shrink because certain people, sometimes in a conference, they're uploading random photos or who knows, somebody's uploading some other YouTube video. So you want to know if that's a dedicated stream for you. And you'll also want to know if you can definitely take full advantage of that stream. I've had an instance in the past where before the event they told me they had 100 down and 100 up. So I thought I was perfectly fine going to there and live streaming. But when I got to the place, it was a big corporate building and really all I was allowed was 5 down and 5 up. Now for my personal live stream, that was perfectly fine. 5 down, 5 up is perfectly fine. But it's good to know if they tell you 100 down, 100 up, can you definitely get that 100 down, 100 up? Or is it more realistic that they have put a cap on each of the Ethernet points throughout the building and you're only going to get 5 down or 5 up or possibly less if you're unlucky? Tip number 2, test the stream and test it a few times. If you're lucky enough to get into the venue the night before the event, that's a perfect time to test the live stream and test it a few times. I found that it's a good idea to set up all your gear and then run a live stream for as long as you want. Let's say 10, 20, 30 minutes. Do all your tests, audio tests, your video tests, and then let that live stream just run throughout the whole time. And then that night, let's say you're staying in a hotel or you're back home, you can watch that live stream, see what the quality's like, see if the video and audio go out of sync. You can really get a good idea of what the stream is going to be like the next day, so long as nothing changes overnight. And then I would say in the morning as well, test it a few times, test to make sure you've got the right bitrate, you've got the right settings, you've got everything working right. That way whenever you come to hit record or hit stream on your actual live stream, you've tested things out, you know things should be fine. Hopefully nothing will change whenever people start pouring into the auditorium and start using up that internet bandwidth. Tip number 3, show the presenter and the presentation. We've been lucky enough to get a lot of nice feedback about the way that we live stream. We tend to do a lot of technical conferences, live coding and lots of small text on the screen. And a lot of the good feedback that we get is that we not only show the presenter talking as they move along the stage, but we also show a nice full wide shot or close-up, of the presentation. That way people watching the videos after the conference, but also in watching the live stream, they can actually see the details in the live code or the code examples. So that's something that's very important. I've seen a lot of conferences that you never actually get to see what's on the screen, but the person in the presenter is talking about, here's the great number that we hit this year, and you're sitting at home watching the live stream and you don't actually know what the number is. So that's just a small example of showing the presenter talking, but also showing the screen when it's relevant. And here you can see an example of a conference that we live streamed, which has the presenter talking and then shows a nice close-up of the screen whenever they're talking about something that's relevant on the screen. Tip number 4, watch out for copyright music. It can be really tricky to pin down little bits of music playing throughout your live stream. If somebody has a presentation and they have a song that plays in one of the slides, it can happen, it can surprise you. So a way to get around that is just to make sure that you ask whoever's talking what their presentation is about, if it's likely to include any music or anything that you might get hurt with copyright on. Now in terms of during the breaks, that's a really important time that you want to watch not to get any music on your stream, and then you'll be pulled down from YouTube or Facebook Live or somewhere like that. So what you want to do is make sure you either ask the audio technician who's on point on the day if they can give you a mix of all of the microphones minus the audio or the music that they might play over the auditorium. So that's a good way to make sure that you possibly never hear any music on your feed. Now, another thing that I like to do, just to make sure, and I've made a video about this, you can check it out up on the top corner, but where we have a live stream break screen during the breaks of a live stream. And a part of that setup is that the audio gets completely muted between breaks of our live stream. That way that whenever the conference takes a break, all the audio goes right down and the people at home hear absolutely nothing happening anyway, but just in case any music leaks its way into the live stream, they're never going to hear that. And it's never going to take you down off YouTube. Because that's the last thing you want, is one extra thing to have to set up a new live stream, point all your stream keys to that new live stream, change the embed on a customer's website or whatever that may be. So what you want to do is be overcautious and just keep the audio right down during breaks or whenever there's any kind of music happening. And it's okay if a person plays copyrighted music during their presentation. I think it's okay just to turn that audio down for the live stream audience, just for that few seconds or minute. They might miss out on a relevant bit of information, but just so your stream stays alive, you got to watch out for copyright music and you'll be better off in the end. Tip number 5, keep an eye on the chat room. We use YouTube Live a lot, and it has, as you may have seen before, a chat room to the right of the video player. Sometimes it can be quiet in there, sometimes it can be very busy in there, and sometimes, sadly, you get the odd person in there that's quite annoying. So, one more thing to check while you're live streaming is the chat room. Make sure there's nobody in there throwing insults, saying things they shouldn't be saying. It's a good idea to remind people at the very start of the chat that this chat room also comes underneath the code of conduct for the full conference. So in this example here, I'm just pasting in a quick message to people just to say, remember, keep in mind that this falls under the code of conduct, and if you break that code of conduct, then we'll kick you out of the chat room. And it's also a good idea to have somebody who also runs the conference to keep an eye on it. You can set them as a moderator in the settings, and they can just jump in there. They can steer the conversation in the right direction, and they can also delete comments, block people, and also keep the chat going. It's not only just negative things in the chat room, but sometimes positive things in there. And if no one's really answering them, then they might not want to give any more positive feedback. So just keep that chat on the back of your mind. You can turn it off if you really want to, but if you keep it on, I would advise checking it every 5-10 minutes just to make sure everything's going okay in there. Tip number 6, keep your audience informed. The final thing is to make sure that you keep your audience on the live stream informed. It can be very easy to forget about people who aren't in the building. The people in the room, they're often told what's happening next and what's coming up. But the people watching the live stream, they might just fall behind. Once again, we've made a video, you can watch that up here, about how we keep people informed on what's happening in the live stream. During the break, you can see a little bit of text to say, hey, starting again in 10 minutes, here's what's coming up, here's the speaker and the talk. And it's also a good idea to keep a link to the schedule in the comment or in the description of the video, or just put it in the chat room if you've kept the chat room opened. So those are a few tips just to keep the live stream going smoothly, and hopefully you find them useful. Maybe you have some of your own that you'd like to share with me, and I can make up a follow-up video for this. But that's just a few things we've learned along the way. Thanks for watching. Watch more episodes of Show and Tell in our playlist, and you can subscribe for more videos. We film and release one about once a week, so you can keep up to date that way. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. It's just who we are. Ooh, it's just who we are.